So, thank you very much for joining us today. Welcome to this NUCoRE and to the launch of this NUCoRE. When I thought about how to introduce cyber security and resilience as a NUCoRE, initially I was thinking about automated self-driving cars and how they're being hacked, how they're being fooled by adversarial AI attacks. I was thinking about how big cyber physical systems are being undermined, classical topics we have seen. Eventually, I decided, looking at a statement we made in the NUCoRE application, which is that emerging technologies are shaping society and are playing a big role in shaping society. Would you put my focus back to the PowerPoint, please? Thank you. And one thing we have done for that is looking at the World Economic Forum and the technologies they have presented over the last few years as the emerging technologies that will shape how this world evolves and emerges. What is really interesting about that is that no matter which year you look at, 19, 20, 21, most of these technologies are cyber connected in some way, have a cyber element to them to make them possible. When we are looking, for instance, at one emerging technology, which was a huge success for this country, for many countries on the planet, you had, for instance, the new COVID-19 mRNA vaccine production. If you think about that in cybersecurity terms, so this is a massive project in bio-nano-engineering. You have cyber-physical systems that are creating the vaccines in the factories, and you have massive large-scale supply chains as part of that. Now, when we're considering one of the topics the World Economic Forum has proposed as one of the future topics that will be an emergent technology changing society, you have on-demand pharmaceuticals. So small units that can produce different kinds of medication. If you look at that, this is also a cyber-physical system. It's a production system for medicine. It is decentralized as a supply system, a consumer supply system. And you might have, for instance, AI decision support as part of on-demand pharmaceuticals. So if you're looking at topics like those, we find cyber aspects in them, even though we wouldn't consider them traditionally as cybersecurity topics in its core. Now, if you're looking further in those areas themselves, it has been recognized that there is a cybersecurity weakness there, a possibility for attack. So in this case, for instance, we're looking at nano and biosystems that could be subverted by adversaries. In this particular case, in what we call a man-in-the-browser attack, that could subvert the synthesis process for these nano and biosystems. So change how a protein is put together, going away from how it was designed initially to putting in something malicious. Now, you could think about that in the big scale of producing vaccines as introduced, or in small devices that are meant to produce medicine, but could produce something else. So what we find here is that if we're looking in all of these emerging technologies, we are facing tremendous cyber risks and the potential to help with cybersecurity and resilience. So when we're looking at the damages that are done in cyber, so these are the global damages done in cyber crime. Currently, these damages are estimated to be twice the GDP of this country. If we are looking ahead, 2025, it's estimated to be half the GDP of the United States in terms of cyber damages. What we're seeing here is an annual growth or 15%, which is faster growing than the major economies out there in terms of GDP. So we're facing a massive problem in terms of cyber attacks being undertaken here in cybercrime. And we need to do something about that. What we're facing here is exponential growth in terms of attacks, in terms of damages, but we're also seeing an opportunity in that cybersecurity is growing exponentially, for instance, in AI or IoT. So we would want to be part of that to go after these opportunities. Now, what we have seen is that the market is growing quite quickly. So currently, it was estimated as 80 billion pounds in 2019, 201 billion pounds in 27. So also growing at 12%, 13% roughly. And this is largely driven by pervasive computing, by IoT, the adoption of artificial intelligence, cyber physical and smart systems. So we see that there's a lot of opportunity coming our way in these areas. Now, talking about cybersecurity, so reducing the risk of cyber attacks in different ways, so it's something that's rather well known and common. I decided to put in an explicit slide about resilience. What do we mean by resilience? It's actually a question I received from one of our colleagues in the Secure and Resilient Systems group when we talked about the NUCoRE. So in this definition I picked out from a colleague from CMU, we're looking at the system as being resilient if it continues to carry out its mission in face of adversity. And what that means is that you can detect adversities, you can respond to them, and you can recover from them if they actualize. And we mean in that not only hazards, so random faults, but also attacks of adversaries in different forms. For us here in Newcastle, we have a very rich and deep tradition in dependability. And this is feeding directly in why we made this NUCoRE strongly about resilience as well. So I wanted to give this its due. So when thinking about how this NUCoRE can make a difference, what emerged there is that we have a huge diversity in this university. For me, that was a great experience to get to know colleagues I haven't known before. I didn't know that they would be interested or do actual research in cybersecurity. So when we are talking about this is a journey from how we have come from an ACE, so Academic Center of Excellence in Cybersecurity Research from 2013, with this portfolio. So these are the research interests in the core cybersecurity knowledge areas as adopted by our government and our portfolio. So you can see we have gotten 28 million grant value since 2010. But what's more interesting here is the spread of our skills as declared by investigators in the center. So we have a very considerable focus on human, organizational, and regulatory aspects in there. So that means governance, that means privacy, that means human factors, human aspects of cybersecurity. What you also see is a very strong focus on system security. So we care about the systems we build, we make them secure in different ways. We have a particular focus on infrastructures and skills in attacks and defenses as well. So this is where we're coming from and how we have operated for quite some time. Now, when we looked at people interested in cybersecurity and resilience, when we had all of these conversations with people in the university, what emerged is a bigger picture. So we had 84 people in the end declaring interest in being part of this NUCoRE. And when I took the liberty going through the research interests of all those scientists, of the academics involved, this is the word cloud you get from that. So all the academics are mentioning that interest and their research interests. So what you see, obviously, is that we're talking about systems and technologies. So there is security, resilience, cyber in this, but you also see a massive diversity. So some people are interested in energy systems, for instance, core cryptography or quantum computing, quantum communication. But you also see the social aspects about gender aspects in relating to cyber systems, emergent technologies, cultural aspects, economical aspects, all coming into play in the joint research interests of people fancying cybersecurity as a topic. So what I found in talking to all of these colleagues and looking at the research interests is an incredible richness we have across faculties. And that's something we haven't really tapped into yet. And what this NUCoRE is about, bringing people together with their different skills, different research interests to make a difference in the world. So just to talk about how we got to this point, we had more than 80 researchers from all faculties declaring interest in cybersecurity and resilience. We had individual conversations, small group conversations, two kinds of community meetings, one for the general vision and mission, one for social science separately as well. Lots of Zoom calls for different topics and a consultation survey as well. So there was a lot of input from the community in shaping this NUCoRE. Now, what we defined as a vision eventually was collaborating across new kinds of faculties to create research opportunities in core security and resilience techniques and key emergent application areas with the emphasis on being meaningful for society. The motto we are pursuing with this is protecting society's fabric, which has always been the motto of our ACE, but we're carrying this forward in the NUCoRE as well. What we want to realize here is cybersecurity and resilience of emergent systems to support society to safeguard progress and prosperity. Now, in the initial conversations about the research themes for this NUCoRE, there were themes emergent from research strengths we already had, from interests we people had, and we came up with initial research themes with different levels of maturity and risk appetite. So you see the classical topics in terms of artificial intelligence. You see bio and nanosystems as something completely new in terms of cybersecurity pursuit in this university. Cyber physical systems. We already have quite substantial research in financial technologies, medical systems, then governance, law, and new technologies. And also considering cross-cutting themes going across all of these research themes themselves, and human identity and trust as a strong social science focus and responsible and sustainable innovation. I feel really blessed that we got a team together of investigators, theme leads, who are committed to bring people together, who seek to shape a research agenda for each individual theme, jointly with members from the university from different faculties, to create opportunities for funding, for research, and to focus on inclusivity and building Newcastle University as a center. So some of the theme leads you will have in the audience. We have Steve being here. Ned Sergey is not here at the moment. Marwa will lead one of the later sessions. We have Jan Bakadit leading the medical systems theme. Ben Farrand is here leading the panel discussion. And then we have Deborah Chambers and Karen Elliott leading the social science cross-cutting themes. Now, the purpose of NUCoRE is to connect researchers and create opportunities to promote an inclusive environment and open research practices. And we welcome members, one and all, irrespective whether you're specifically interested in those research themes or in cybersecurity and resilience in general. Whether you are a PhD student, an RA, an early career researcher, a seasoned academic, please feel free to join us. What we will do in this is keep expanding cybersecurity and resilience, which also means expanding the Academic Center of Excellence in Cybersecurity Research itself. In that, we're currently hiring a new chair in cybersecurity to create new capacity, as well as 3 lecturers and senior lecturers in security areas. So where we create bigger research themes to reach out across faculties, we're also amplifying core cybersecurity knowledge areas and technical strengths. So how to get involved? Please join us as a NUCoRE member, become part of the club. What we see as benefits here is getting to know colleagues in cybersecurity and resilience with interests in that across the faculties. Join idea factories, sandpits, find collaborators and co-investigators for research grants and collaborations otherwise. Come for our seminars. Take this opportunity to learn more, do more in cybersecurity and resilience. I would also want to give a shout out to PhD students for which we would want to create special opportunities that might be local talklets and events, but we're also leading or co-leading the UK Cybersecurity PhD online network, which gives you more opportunities to connect to PhD students across the country, and the Cybersecurity PhD winter schools, which is always a brilliant opportunity to see excellent keynote speakers in cybersecurity and resilience, have interesting activities, and get to know other PhD students in the field. In terms of concrete announcements, I would already like to make. We will host an industry stakeholders workshop. So that's a lot about networking and ideation, end of June here in the Newcastle Helix. And this will be led by Marva Elnahas and Karen Elliott as one first concrete opportunity to get together and talk to members from industry and public sector. We will also organize a research culture workshop, which is especially about creating inclusion and support in cybersecurity and resilience research in the NUCoRE, which is for PhD students, RAs, early career researchers, and academics, also hosted here in Helix, probably end of August. So with that, I would like to invite questions from you. Thank you very much for joining us today, for joining the NUCoRE, and I hope you have an interesting time of it. Okay. So the question was how to sign up. There's a registration form for the NUCoRE that we have sent around with the invitation for this event. Just giving you some opportunities there. So you can sign up as a member, sign up to become represented on the web pages, join the mailing list, joining the Teams forum, and so having different options that you can choose how you want to participate in this NUCoRE. We also invite you to register for the research themes, so research themes or cross-cutting themes, where your interests lie, just to make sure that we can reach out for specific topics that might be of interest to you. If you're not going for one particular research theme, feel free to join anyway. The research theme are initial statements, what we would want to pursue, and they are fluid and they will be shaped with your participation. Other questions? comments? Right.
Curious to know how you think this fits in the landscape of the UK in terms of what the distinctive strengths are. There's some really interesting new areas, new bioanalysis, for example. What do you think are the sort of distinctive strengths that you like to play to?
So in terms of our so the question was, what are our distinctive strengths compared to the UK landscape? So what we have always been as a NUCoRE is a socio-technical NUCoRE, looking at core cyber security in the terms of system security and topics grouped around that, as well as organizational human factors and regulatory aspects of cybersecurity. So in that sense, this portfolio is still true. And that's already putting us in somewhat of a niche. We have other competitors going in a similar way. However, what's setting us apart now is that we're, for instance, going after topics like bio and nano cybersecurity. I don't know of any other institution currently doing that. Perhaps Chris might have more information on that. So we're looking especially on those forward-looking topics with the NUCoRE.
And follow-up is whether you're actively pursuing the sort of networking with other complementary strong institutions and centers.
So the question was whether we are actively pursuing networking with complementary institutions. There are some natural alliances already in terms of joint bids, for instance. And I would also say, yes, we would want to do that. Partially other academic centers of excellence that are complementary, partially institutions that are outside of the ACE network, but that are having strengths in these areas we want to pursue.